What's happening, guys? Back at you with another video. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at James Cameron's movies and actually going to be ranking them in this video. So let's go ahead and get to it. So recently we had the release of Avatar: The Way of Water, James Cameron's new film, now currently in theaters. I did check it out the other day, and usually during the process of making videos and stuff like that, I kind of like to do rankings that are kind of related to movies that are releasing. So I decided to go ahead and do this ranking video, ranking James Cameron's movies. Now he has a total of I think 9 movies, with this new recent release included. So I decided to go ahead and check out all his movies. I basically rewatched all of them, or at least rewatched the ones I've seen already before. But there's actually a couple of ones on this list that I actually watched for the first time. So this is going to be my ranking. This is totally my opinion. You could definitely have a different opinion on this ranking and on these movies. But this is as of recently rewatching and watching some of them for the first time. This is how I would rank them, and this is just my opinion. Coming in at the bottom for me is going to be Piranha 2, The Spawning. Now, this was definitely a pretty bad movie. I gotta say, a pretty bad movie. But there was actually some scenes and some spots here and there that I've actually found entertaining for how bad it was. I know it's kind of weird to say, but there was actually some slight entertainment in some scenes just because it was bad. Now, there's been movies that I've watched in throughout my life that have been really bad, but there's been movies in that I've seen that can still find a little slight entertainment just because they are bad. I know it sounds weird to say, but there has been some movies where they're so bad that I can still find a little entertainment on how bad they are. This one overall was a bad movie, but like I said, there was some couple scenes here and there that were like kind of entertainment filled, for me at least, based on how bad it was. But overall, this was definitely a bad movie. So that's why it's going to come in at the bottom for me. Moving up next on the list is going to be a movie that I've actually seen. This was my first time watching it while, preparing for this ranking video. My first time watching this movie. So next on the list is going to be The Abyss. This movie came out in the late 90s. And it's really never a movie that I just got around to watching it until like doing this ranking. Like I said, I watched it for the very first time. And I gotta say, with this movie, I don't know. I just didn't get no interest in it in this movie. Like whenever it starts to become a little bit interesting to me, or like I was kind of getting into it just a little bit, was maybe towards the last act of the movie where we started getting towards, start getting into like the alien stuff and the alien parts of stuff. But everything before that, honestly, I didn't have no interest in. And it's one telling sign that I don't really get interest in a movie is that I start to do stuff on my phone, and that happened a couple of times during the movie where I was drawn to doing something else or drawn to doing something on my phone while watching a movie. So that's kind of a telling sign that I was losing interest in this movie. But when it got to the last parts of the movie where we started dealing with the alien stuff and all that stuff, slight interest came over me in the movie. But other than that, the rest of the movie I did not really like. I did not really have too much of an interest in. So that's why I got put on this spot on the list. Next up on the list is going to be a movie that is not necessarily bad. I actually rewatched it a couple of days ago, for the first time again. Like, rewatch. I rewatched it again for the first time in like 9 or 10 years. Yeah, it was a long time that I haven't watched this movie, and since the recent release, decided to watch. Pretty much had to watch it again for the ranking and for preparation of recent release. So with that being said, next up on the list is going to be the first Avatar film. This movie is not bad. It's not bad by any means. I still think it's a great movie. I still think it's good. Even recently rewatching it, I had this. I don't know. It's not that I'm trying to hate on it or anything, but with the recent rewatch that I had, I don't know, like all these years, I kind of like felt like I wasn't really the biggest Avatar fan or anything like that. But with this recent rewatch, I kind of, like I like the movie, but like I kind of like the movie a little bit more now. Now that I haven't watched it in years, I kind of liked it a little bit more. Regardless, though, it does have a story where it is reused, recycled from other movies, other stories that we've seen plenty of times before. Nonetheless, it still is. I still think it's a great movie, and it has amazing visuals for the time that it came out in, and it still holds up today. To some of the visuals still look pretty good today. So it's a visually stunning movie still too, but. Uh, I know it may seem low on this list, but that's just because James Cameron hasn't done a whole lot of movies. Plus, two, the movies that I put on more on the top of the list just overall are better to me, in my opinion. But this does not knock it against it just because it's at this spot on the list. Does not knock it against it for being a bad movie or anything. I still like the movie. I still I enjoyed watching it the other day. Recently when I watched it again. So I don't think it's a bad movie. The one thing I'll say though about Avatar though is that I guess I get slightly annoyed, and this could just be me being biased towards it. Not towards the Avatar movie, but being biased towards Marvel movies in general. To where I really wish that Avatar wasn't the highest grossing movie of all time. But it's just me being a little bit biased because I just want a Marvel movie, like for example, Marvel Avengers Endgame, to be at the top as the highest grossing movie of all time. But that's just me being biased or anything like that. I wouldn't mind if Avatar was still one of the highest grossing movies of all time. It's just that I was being a little biased in wanting to have Avengers Endgame at the top of the list. But nonetheless, I still like this movie for the most part. I still think it's a great movie, great visuals and everything like that. Go ahead and moving on to the next spot on the list. This movie was kind of a first time watch. I think I seen parts of it when I was younger, but for the most part, of actually sitting down and watching it, I think this was actually kind of my first time watching it and all that stuff. So moving on to the next spot on the list is going to be True Lies. This is a '90s sort of action, sort of spy movie that James Cameron did with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis and all that. Yeah, like I said, this was kind of my first time actually watching it all the way through. So honestly, it was a fun watch. I had fun watching it. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought I had a lot of good things going for it. Kind of had some that spy action kind of movie with a little bit comedy thrown in and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time watching it for the first time, really. And it's a fun time watching it. Like I said, just because it's at this spot on the list doesn't make it a bad movie or anything like that. It's just that James Cameron doesn't have a long list of filmography, and he has some other better movies. But it's not a bad movie or anything like that. I still was able to kind of enjoy it and watch it. Next up on the list is going to be his recent release, and that's going to be Avatar: The Way of Water. With this one, overall, I said this one I liked and I really enjoyed whenever I watched it. And in my opinion, I think it's better than the first one. This one kind of has the visuals as visually stunning. It looks amazing. It looks incredible. But this one also brings forth a better story and kind of a story of a kind of a story on its own merit. Like its own premise, whatever. Brings this new story of the world of Avatar, or world of Avatar, the world of Pandora, really. And I just like the things that James Cameron was able to do with this movie. Like I said, it looks visually stunning, especially when we get to the water scenes and things like that, being underwater, being on the ocean, being on the sea, and all that stuff. A lot of great visuals going on in this movie, and like I said, a great story that was actually uh, good, and I actually liked the way the movie was, and I actually enjoyed watching it. It's even though it was 3 hours or 3 hours plus long, it didn't really feel like it was 3 hours. It felt long, but it didn't feel like it was exhausting to watch, or it had some good pacing, and it just didn't feel like it was super long, and it didn't feel like it was an exhausting time to watch it. Everything looked great on it, the story was good, and honestly, by the end of the film, after watching it, and that by the end of the film, I'm actually curious. I'm actually interested in the sequels to Avatar. I wasn't really interested in the movies. I know we were going to get some more movies after the first film, but after watching the first film, I wasn't necessarily interested. I didn't become the biggest Avatar fan, but after watching this movie, I can actually get it. I actually get why he was working so hard on these movies. I kind of get why it took so long to make these movies. I'm just saying, like, after watching this movie, I get it now. And I'm actually kind of interested in seeing what he does with the sequels after watching this movie. Moving on to the next spot on the list is going to be Titanic. Now, I like Titanic for the most part. You know, it has a it's a pretty good movie. Another long movie. You know, that's kind of the trend with James Cameron. I guess he does like making long movies or something like that. But this was a epic kind of sea adventure where we get this basically in the first half we get, you know, the Titanic, the story of Titanic, where you get this great boat that they're on, and just seeing the whole different aspects of people, where it's like different classes of people and stuff like that, and you know, you just get this adventure going on this big old boat, and then suddenly we're pulled into where it's a fight for survival in the second half, where they're, you know, they hit the iceberg, their boat is starting to sink, and it's a fight for survival, trying to survive and all that, and it really hits with that emotion. It hits with the things it's trying to convey, to where it's like it has you on, kind of has you on the edge of your seat, because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's like it makes you wonder, it makes you want to keep watching because you want to see what's going to happen and all that stuff. So he did a great job with this movie, and you're having a great cast of characters in this movie. Honestly, it's one of his better ones. One of his I'll say, pretty much say one of his best. It's kind of like in the middle right now, but like it is definitely one of his best that he's worked on. And you know, I like the movie. Like, I like the movie. I don't really watch it very often. Maybe once in a while, once a year, maybe once every 2 years, maybe, or so on and so forth. But yeah, but it's still a great movie to watch each time I actually do check it out. Moving on to the next spot on the list is going to be Terminator. This movie, I'll say, has a great story. Definitely has one of the best stories for a James Cameron movie. I will say though, the effects and the way they were is a bit dated, but nonetheless, if you look past that, you can still get a great movie out of it with the story and all that. And I think it's one of the better time traveling sort of stories. The way that the story is, you know, and you know, you have the story of the Terminator coming back to the past, trying to kill Sarah Connor, and you have the Protector that comes back to the past also, and you know, protecting her and all that. So I would say, yeah, definitely as far as like a time travel, and then you get the AI technology kind of aspect to it, is one of those better movies that I would put on the top of the list as one of those better time travel sort of movies. And you get like a great story and all that with it. So the Terminator, I gotta say, like, I like watching Terminator. Like, I don't watch it super often like other ones, but it's like it's always a great watch. Every time I put it on and try to watch it, it's always a great watch, and it still remains one of the best Terminator movies in the franchise too. So, yeah, that's what James Cameron was able to do with that. Moving on to the next spot on the list is going to be probably one of my favorite films. I won't say it's on the super top of the list, but like it's definitely one that's on a list that I like to watch, and it's just one of my favorite franchises overall, I guess. We're going to move on to the next spot on the list, and that's going to be Aliens. Aliens is a pretty good movie, in my opinion. It's better than the first one. It proves that a sequel could be better than the original movie. You know, there's some people that go back and forth on which one's better. My opinion, Aliens is better than the first one, the first original film of Alien. So I like Aliens. I like what he was able to do with this Aliens movie, kind of bringing the action, and then also to still building up suspense. Pacing was well done in this movie. A lot of great things in this movie. Like, I really like it. When I want to watch an Aliens movie, I usually typically go to this one, because it's still one of the best in the franchise. It's one of my favorites in the franchise. So I usually tend to typically watch this one, maybe the first movie and this one, and you know, those are the ones I usually typically go to when I want to watch a good aliens movie, or one that want a movie that I want to watch with aliens in it. You know, I typically go to those two in them. So in my opinion, Aliens is better than the first one, and then is one of the best James Cameron movies that he's put out. Now we get to the very top of the list, the number one movie. A lot of people put this as the top best James Cameron movie. Like a lot of lists that people make that I've seen before, a lot of people put this at the top of their list. A lot of people will say is one of the best movies of all time. And a lot of people put it on their favorites list. And that is going to be Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Now, I agree. This is definitely one of the best action movies of all time. It's definitely one of my favorites. I won't say it's at the super top of the list, but it's definitely on the list for one of my favorites to watch. This is the another proven way of saying that the sequel is better than the first movie. He did a lot of great things with this movie. Um, just the action, the way it's set up, the story, a lot of things he did great with this movie. And it's one that I typically go back to when it comes to the Terminator franchise. It's definitely I definitely say it's the best Terminator movie. It's the one I go to rewatch whenever I want to see a Terminator movie. So yeah, it's always a good time to be able to watch it, and having Arnold Schwarzenegger in there is definitely pretty cool. Acting as this time around, he's acting as the protector for John Connor. A lot of great things in here. Just a great overall '90s action movie with him in it. And yeah, like I said, it's typically the one I go to when I want to watch a Terminator movie. That's my go to when it comes to watching it. So yeah, it's one of James Cameron's best movies. I gotta say, and everybody pretty much agrees on that. That is pretty much probably one of, if not the best, James Cameron movie out there. So yeah, that's why I got put on top of the list. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments below if you were to rank all 9 movies, how would you rank them? But that's gonna do it for all for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Remember, if you want to be a part of Team Legendary, all you gotta do is subscribe and turn notifications on so you know I post another video. Hope you all have an awesome day, and remember, be legendary.